So the last two probably need a little bit more practice because they do require you to, contract the muscle. When you contract that muscle, it pushes more air up. Okay. And that's what is allowing you to last on one breath for more notes. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. Small inhalation of air, 4 counts. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction, English literature, experimental psychology, computer science, physical education, and music theory. Yes, the term here changed. They want you to realize that, words do change as you're doing this. So it's important to read along. Okay, we're going to do the last one. And again, we may or may not get to the end. So we're going to practice these every day. If you do practice your voice and diction for about 10 minutes a day, not just this exercise, but other exercises, the 8 notes in speech right now, and then others as we go on into studying diction, the articulation. It sort of it gets a little bit of a muscle memory after about 2 weeks, but at the same time every day, any exercise will help your body create this muscle memory. So I'm going to do my small inhale on a count of 4. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction, English literature, adolescent psychology, computer science, physical education, music theory, and art appreciation. I have a lot more to go. So I would do that exercise minimum and maximum about twice a day. Again, the same 10 minutes every day. And you will have an understanding of how your body produces voice using diaphragmatic breathing. So we're back to our list. And we know that difference between diaphragmatic breathing and clavicular breathing. So if I were to read those sentences again using clavicular breathing, should have done this one up. Here's how it would sound. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction and English literature. Now listen to this disgusting inhale. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction, English literature, and adolescent psychology. Now listen to it with diaphragmatic. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction, English literature, and adolescent psychology. Let's do the next one. First, clavicular. I went to registration and took one course in voice and diction, English literature, adolescent psychology, and computer science. Here's clavicular. I went to registration and took one course in English, literature, voice and diction, adolescent psychology, and computer science. Sorry, IT. So with the conversational quality, you can hear, I'm not doing anything. It's just when I breathe through my mouth, my pitch gets higher. When I breathe through my nose, my pitch gets lower instantly. So you don't have to keep practicing the clavicular. You already know how to do that. That's how we speak usually in conversational quality. So, and plus you get a lot of dry mouth when you have that clavicular breathing. So what is the preferred breathing for voice and diction and manuscript speaking? And maybe if you want to use it for conversational, diaphragmatic breathing. That's why I have a difficult time listening to modern artists singing, because everything is clavicular. And I concentrate on all the inhalations, and it's just this disgusting noise to me compared to opera or some of your, but probably you may not listen to Adele or any others that use the diaphragmatic breathing mostly. Mariah Carey, a lot of clavicular breathing. They made it a gimmick, and then I think Beyonce copied it. It's just a gimmick. I don't understand the gimmick. It sounds horrible. So now we're getting into some of the apparatus of our body that we need to understand for voice production. So we have to understand, since the resonation bounces off our chest behind, we have lungs, right? They support this inhalation, exhalation process. So when the air is in your lungs, how does it get past them? It moves through your lungs with the alveoli, which are tiny air sacs of air in the lungs that manipulate or move the air through the bloodstream. And if you go onto a YouTube, you can see this quite clearly, a video showing how these alveoli, which are tiny hair-like little follicles, and they push the air through the bloodstream. So in describing your lungs, we have the base, which is called the bronchus, right here. And the different branches of the base are bronchioles. So this paragraph is directly from chapter 2, so that you understand that the main branch is the bronchus, the stem, and then its divisions are the bronchioles, and at the ends of the bronchioles are your alveoli. And there's pictures on pages in chapter 2 that help you understand that. Again, you can always look to a YouTube video for that. And we learned bronchus. Okay, breathiness came up in our quality discussion. When you let out too much air, you have a breathy voice. Intercostal muscles. So back to this movement of inhalation, exhalation. How does the air go from our abdominal region up to our chest? Well, you have a rib cage, right? But it's not the bones in the rib cage, it's the muscles that lie between the rib cage that elevate the muscles, lift them up, and lower them. So those muscles are called intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles lift the rib cage and lower the rib cage. And as it's doing that, it lifts the air from your abdominal, lifts the air from your midsection, rib section, up into your chest, and then vice versa. Your larynx is, we every day call it your voice box. The scientific term is larynx, and the correct pronunciation is larynx, like Larry, not larynx, which is a mispronunciation in this region. Nasal cavity, okay, so this nasal cavity, we normally call it a nose, but in voice production, the 3 sounds that are produced in our nasal cavity are spelling it NG and NK. Oral cavity, we always call it a mouth, but now, scientifically, it is the oral cavity. Your throat is your pharynx. So I know these 2 words sound alike, larynx and pharynx, but the throat has an H in it, and so does pharynx. So on an exam, that might be a good memory jog technique. Glottis, we know, is the space between the vocal folds. And if you wanted to, the sound of H is the most relaxed sound in the American English language, and it is produced in the it is produced in the glottis. And we use that a lot in singing. We use it a lot in the speech sciences to relax people. It's a very effective tool. And now the second word in our chapter 2 was phonation. The actual creation of sound is called phonation. So the human voice, in order to hear the sounds that the voice is making in articulation and diction, it has to be phonated. And this is called phonation. So if we take our 2 fingers, where's my camera? And we put them underneath our Adam's apples for gentlemen. Ladies, you'll have to hunt around. And you're going to feel your vocal folds creating phonation. So they create phonation with the use of vibration. So let's use some of our vibrating sounds. Let's use the first one, B. So everybody go, and you could feel the vibration. They also use, without vibration, we create sounds. So let's take the, everybody do, now, you can feel the difference. So, phonation, the actual creation of sound by the vibrations and without the vibrations of your vocal folds. So your vocal folds, that's what you were feeling the vibration of. And when they vibrate, they're called voiced sounds. So these are some examples of voiced sounds. So you could practice b, d, g, j, l, m, n, r, y, z, and all vowels are voiced. And then without vibration, and we forgot. Okay. So that you can hear that consonants, some vibrate, some don't vibrate. So you're like a harmonica, right? You make sounds with air going in, air going out. Same thing. Resonance or resonation gives the sound amplification, enrichment, and distinct quality. So for our purposes, a better resonation, we hear it with vowels and diphthongs. And we're only going to get a better resonating sound if we use diaphragmatic breathing and we lower our mandible, having better oral resonance. Having better oral resonance. You hear the difference when I don't lower my mandible? Having better, and that's the difference. And again, there's wonderful videos. I probably will put links to three, one for respiration, one for phonation, and one for resonation, so that it would give you a head start in when you're looking up other videos that you would want to see on YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to have this lecture end at this last word, and then we're going to pick up with the next set of words in the second part of this lecture. Rectus abdominis. Now, Latin, 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 right? All science is Latin. So when you were placing your hands on your abdominal region, and I said you're feeling your diaphragm muscles expand and contract, there's actually a sheath of muscle right outside your diaphragm that you're really feeling. So for my anatomy and physiology, I didn't want you to think I don't know my A and P. So rectus abdominis, and yes, it's a nice Latin term, and yes, it's going to be asked of you to know this definition, is a sheath of muscle which rests just outside your abdominals or diaphragm, okay? The reason why sternum is put in, is not a green word, your exam has multiple choice, true, false, or fill in the blank, depending, or it could be all true, false. And sometimes if I have a multiple choice, I put in terms, you know, to fill in the multiple choice. And one of the tests had sternum, and they said, Professor Kalfayan, we didn't learn that word. I'm like, yeah, because don't pick it. But I put it here as a, don't pick it, but the sternum is your breastbone. Okay, so I'm going to end this lecture, but pick it up in the second part so you can manage your listening of this lecture better. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and use your time management, and I'll see you in the second half of the vocabulary in the next video.